Welcome to the 2013-2014 Public Sector Energy Efficiency webinar. This is part 1, which is an overview of the incentives. My name is Holly Nelson, and I'm here with my colleague Scott Pickard. We are the implementation coordinators at the Smart Energy Design Assistance Center at the University of Illinois. Also joining us on the phone are Andrea Reif and Byron Lloyd with the Illinois Department of Commerce and Economic Opportunities Illinois Energy Office, and they're on the line to help us answer questions at the end. Before we begin, I'd like to take a moment to introduce you to our organization in case you aren't familiar with us. CDAC is an applied research program at the University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign, working in collaboration with the 360 Energy Group and the Energy Resources Center at the University of Illinois in Chicago. We provide advice and analysis to help increase the economic viability of both private and public facilities through efficient use of energy resources.
Hi, I'm Scott Pickard. We'd like to take a few minutes of your time today to go over the energy efficiency incentives offered by the Illinois Department of Commerce and Economic Opportunity. In Part 1, we'll give you an overview of the types of incentives offered, highlight the current promotions, and point you in the direction of some case studies that show how our energy efficiency projects can have a positive impact on your agency. If you'd like to learn how to fill out the incentive application, join us for the live broadcast of Part 2 on Monday, August 19th at 1 p.m. or watch the recorded presentation anytime on our YouTube channel.
As we mentioned in the announcement for this webinar, this presentation is geared towards public sector agencies such as schools, local governments, public universities, community colleges, and state or federal agencies, and those who do energy efficiency work with those agencies. If you work with a nonprofit organization or a business, you don't qualify for these incentives. However, the utility companies have some very similar programs. Feel free to contact us if you have any questions.
We're so glad you're joining us today because we have some great information, some of which is time sensitive. The sooner you act on your energy efficiency project, the more money you stand to save. And if you already have a project in progress, you may still be able to get funding. We'll talk about dates and promotions later in the presentation.
To give you a little background, the Department of Commerce and Economic Opportunities energy efficiency programs are funded through a rider on the electric and natural gas bills of all customers whose energy is delivered by Ameren, Illinois, ComEd, Nicor Gas, Peoples Gas, and North Shore Gas. This energy efficiency rider was added based on Illinois legislation for electric demand reduction in 2007 and natural gas savings goals set in 2009. Part of the funding goes towards energy efficiency incentives. Each of the utilities offer incentives to their private and nonprofit customers, and DCEO administers the incentives for the public sector, called the Illinois Energy Now program. All of us are already paying for these incentives, so I would really encourage you to take advantage of them. Another part of the funding goes towards energy efficiency programs like CDAC that can help organizations plan for the future.
DCEO offers standard incentives for lighting, heating, and air conditioning, kitchen, and other equipment. For these measures, you just fill in some basic information about the items, and the forms will automatically calculate the incentive for you. You can also apply for a custom project, which is based on the estimated amount of energy you'll save. A free CDAC audit can help you determine the estimated savings for a custom project if your contractor is not able to provide the information.
We'll talk more about the new application forms in Part 2 of this webinar series. They've improved significantly from the last several years. Filling out a DCEO application is actually pretty easy, and we're here to help if you have any questions. The application for the current program year, which is for projects completed from June 1st, 2013 to May 15th, 2014, is a fillable PDF. Make sure you get the forms directly from the DCEO website because revisions may occur during the course of the year.
There are a few steps in the application process. After determining the type of project you will pursue and gathering some basic information about what you will do, you submit a pre-approval application, which must be submitted by April 15th, 2014 at the latest. The submission of a pre-approval application allows DCEO to review and approve equipment and the amount of the corresponding incentives and reserves the funding for your project. All custom projects require the submission of a pre-approval application. This step is optional for standard measures, but is still highly recommended so that you make sure you reserve funding. DCEO reviews this application and gives you a notice to proceed if the application is complete. Next, you install the equipment, and after the project is complete and operational, submit the final application, where you submit the same application form with any changes from the original plan. This step must be completed by May 15th, 2014 at the latest to receive funds during the program year 2013 through 2014. If your project is delayed and you aren't able to complete it until a future year, you may still be able to get funding, but the rates won't be announced until June of each year, and they usually change a little.
Okay, thanks, Scott. So let's get into a little more detail on each of these categories. Lighting is a really great cost-effective way to save energy in your facility. You can get incentives whether you choose to upgrade just the lamps or the entire fixture. Make sure that you check the equipment you plan to install meets the program specifications. I know that everyone has probably heard about LED lighting. Some LED fixtures may qualify for incentives, but it's really crucial that you check the Design Lights Consortium, or DLC, qualified product list from the Design Lights Consortium before you complete the project to ensure that the equipment is eligible. It's also important to note that DCEO does not offer incentives for linear LED retrofit bulbs to replace linear fluorescent bulbs, even though some lamps are listed in the Design Lights Consortium, or DLC, list found on their website.
Heating and air conditioning systems represent a large chunk of the energy use in most facilities, so improving those systems can result in significant savings. On the electric side, you can get incentives for unitary and split system air conditioning, air source heat pumps, chillers, room air conditioners, heat pumps, package terminal air conditioners, and ground source heat pumps. This is a great year to do some work on your system if you use natural gas, because most of the incentives have been doubled from their levels at the start of the last program year. There's also a new hinge bonus program, which stands for High Impact Natural Gas Efficiency, which is available for a short time for natural gas savings of over 50,000 therms that we'll talk about later. We don't expect the incentives to be this high ever again. Incentives are available for furnaces, boilers, condensing unit heaters, and infrared heaters. You can also get an incentive for an HVAC tune-up to reduce reheat, and we'll talk about the boiler tune-up program in a moment. One last thing to note is that the standard incentives for demand-controlled ventilation and conversion of pneumatic to direct digital controls were eliminated, but you can still apply for them under the custom program.
Improving your equipment is also a great way to improve your building's efficiency, and some of the measures are very cost-effective. Installing variable speed drives on fans, pumps, or motors can result in significant savings. The incentive for natural gas water heaters was among those doubled from the value at the beginning of the last program year. Low-flow shower heads are a new incentive, and they can help you save money on water and wastewater bills in addition to saving natural gas. And installing an air compressor with integrated variable speed drive is also a new incentive.
If you have any type of kitchen equipment in your building, there are many incentives that may be of interest to you. I won't go into too much detail on all the types of equipment, but I encourage you to look more closely at the forms. Incentives are offered for refrigeration, vending, demand control ventilation for kitchen exhaust hoods, food preparation equipment, high-efficiency ice makers, and water savings measures. DCEO also has free pre-rinse spray nozzles available for free. Just call 312-996-2593.
If you have an energy efficiency project that you haven't seen listed previously, you can apply for a custom incentive. The project must have a simple payback between 1 and 7 years. For these measures, you earn 12 cents per kilowatt hour saved and $3 per therm saved. The therm savings value was doubled from the amount at the start of the last program year. The key for a custom project is that you must be able to show calculations for the potential energy savings. A CDAC report will often fulfill that requirement, and your contractor may even be able to provide a better figure. You also have to submit more documentation of the items that are installed.
We'll also highlight just briefly the boiler tune-up program. It has a separate application form in either PDF or Word format. Incentives for boiler system improvements include tune-ups, pipe insulation, steam traps, boiler reset controls, and parallel positioning control systems. These are great opportunities to make sure your boiler is running in top condition if you aren't ready to replace it now.
Now we've reached the most exciting part of our presentation, promotions. As you saw in the HVAC and equipment sections of the application, many of the natural gas incentives were doubled from their values at the start of the last program year. This actually occurred in January 2013, and many of you may have heard about it. We are happy to announce that these rates have been extended until the end of the program year. DCEO has also just released the details for the HINGE bonus, which stands for High Impact Natural Gas Efficiency. Projects that save 50,000 therms annually can receive $4 per therm, and projects that save 100,000 therms annually can receive $5 per therm, up to 90% of the project cost. Pre-approval applications for HINGE are due September 30th, 2013, and the work must be completed by May 15th, 2014. And those have to be for improvements in one building only. If you aren't able to take advantage of the HINGE bonus, you may still be eligible for either of the DCEO Sweet Deal bonuses, where you can get a 10% bonus on projects completed by October 31st, 2013. And if you miss that, you can get a 5% bonus on projects completed by February 14th, 2014. Those bonuses apply to the incentives offered in the standard and custom incentive programs and the boiler tune-up program.